name is Ray Kiliho. I am from Tanzania and I am an architect by training. But I've spent so many years of my life, at least for the past maybe 15 years or so, involved in youth activism, also particularly majoring in environmental conservation and climate change, but also into the side of solution and innovation of that side. And so I had also had a great opportunity to be among a couple of youth networks, from architecture networks to art to to music and to engineering projects. So this really kind of gave me a 360 perspective and an idea on how different disciplines can really be interlinked to really create possible impact. And
Mm-hmm.
we went on with my friends in 2019. We started one of the Tanzania's largest youth organization or a think tank, which really lived to this idea to bring people from different dimensions, from technology to banking, from to finance, to legal to business, to really talk about common Tanzania challenges. And then the outcomes was really impressive because you could see certain challenges from an engineering point of view, but really it could be a social point of view. And so this has really kept me going. And today, among other things, I coordinate programs at the Office of the Secretary General to the Pan-African Youth Union, which is the largest organization in Africa that coordinates youth organizations across the continent, and a focal agency to the
Yeah.
African Union. So it's quite thrilling to be part of all these young energies, and I was glad to participate in the festival as well, and had an opportunity to meet you and the great team.
Yeah, amazing. Can you please share what is the name of the organization that you have created
Yes, yes, its
with
name is
us?
Vijana Think Tank. It's a Swahili name, Vijana, which means youth for Swahili. So it's Vijana Think
Ah,
Tank. Yes,
Vijana Think Tank. All right,
yes.
amazing. And then talking about your personal experience and where do you think how did you come to the path to empower youth to organize think tank? Was it something
Mhm,
that you always wanted to do? Like, how
mhm.
did you choose this path? Because I'm also in a very similar industry, let's say, where we work a lot with young people. And I
Mhm.
think for me, it was just like faith. I didn't know, I didn't imagine before that this is what I would be doing. So
Right.
I'm curious about your story.
So honestly, really, I never like thought to do something to help people. What we really were trying to do was creating platforms to help ourselves. And so,
Mm,
being a young person, trying to see, you want an entry to certain opportunity, you want to learn more about certain things. We wanted to learn more about, governance. And so we engaged more government initiatives. We wanted to learn about how multilateral processes engaged. So we engaged within the United Nations processes. So the idea was really for us and for me as a person to really know more, learn more, but also because the whole objective of what the government has been doing, or the United Nations and multilateral organizations, has been to try to do impact. So we did find ourselves like, okay, so for us to be really relevant, we also have to link our own, kind of urgeness and conquest, but also try to do something positive. And then doing that for many, many years. And then at the end of the day, it feels like we were set out to try to do something as an impact. And so we also realized, myself with the colleagues and the great team that we've been working, we came to realize that by the knowledge we have had, the networking we have also had, we were far more, we were far more optimal if we could do something to help more young people that did not have the kind of experience that we had. So we also wanted to have an organization in order to be sustainable, to reach more young people, to be
mm-hmm.
able to allow more people to get the experiences we've had, also to be able to solve collective challenges that we face and cannot be possible to address them as an individual, the likes of
Great.
policy, the likes
Mm.
of mobilizing resources. So it really came as part of trying to find ourselves, but also we ended up into doing something that was really impactful for the whole community.
Amazing. Can you share with us maybe one or two milestone projects that you have done with your team, and
Yes.
now some of the achievements or success, like results of these projects?
Yeah, so one of the very, very notable, I would talk about this every time, is in
Yeah.
2020. So we had set out to engage on a process, in Tanzania, just under 14% of all university enrollments are women. And so for us, the question was, how can we really promote and do any initiative to support more women into sciences and engineering and mathematics? And so the first thing that we started out to do was understanding the context. And so we wanted to be very ambitious to commemorate for the first time in the country the International Day of Girls and Women in Science. And we said, we want the president to be part of this commemoration. And we were pretty young. And so the thing was
The
like, who
president
of the
sorry,
country,
the
of the
pres
United
of the
Republic
country.
of Tanzania, yes.
Whoa, okay.
Yes, and it
They're
was for the first
ambitious.
time. Yes, the organization was just under 1 year old, maybe just about 4 or 5 months, but we set out to do that. And then what we did, which was very ironic, usually commemorations would honor the top performing, the best of the best, would award those who are high achievers. So we took the different route. So what we wanted to do is we looked into the bottom of the pyramid to which schools and students really struggle, that their pass marks and results from examinations has been really not so well. And so we selected some 10 schools in my city, and then that was around 350 students. And so instead of having experts and high performing engineers in STEM, and these are women, come to talk to students in schools, we felt that was not quite a good experience. So we organized outreach programs for 350 students to go to where engineering and science is happening. So they visited labs, they visited engineering sites, they visited university laboratories, they visited, like innovation centers, they visited, think of it, airports, control towers, they visited power plants. And so after a week, we said, okay, so during the commemoration, we want these young people, which are basically children and young girls and men, to do like an experience sharing. And then we invite the president to see them, and they will tell the president what they've seen. So apparently we invited the president, but like in most places, the president is not the easiest person to get to. So we did face some, bureaucratic challenges in terms of, who are these young people? Do they have the capacity to do this? I mean, do they have the credibility? But at the end of the day, we did invite the president, and she came. She said, "I want to go. I want to listen to these people." And then we had one of the biggest crowds that was at least 1,030 people. And
Wow,
since that
nice.
day, the International Day of Women in Science, of Women and Girls in Science in Tanzania, was
Hmm.
denounced as a national observation. So since 2021, now it's a national observation, and then the ministry observes it. So our input was really
Wow.
fruitful. So that is
So that
one.
was your, well, that is the one, I would say. So how old were you back then?
So I would think I was 26. So, yeah,
26.
yeah.
With
Um,
great ambition and initiative, and is something that turned out to be recognized by the country. And
it
how big was
is.
the team that organized the whole day, the whole festival?
So the core team that was working back to back was about 6 people. And
Wow.
towards the end of towards the whole commemoration and the big event itself, we had a lot more volunteers, about 35 maximum. So we really had to do a lot to make sure everything comes together. And we
Yeah,
got a lot of support from businesses, from other organizations. They supported facilitating the
right.
students to go to outreach programs. So we really had a lot of support from the community to see like, oh, okay, so this is a great initiative. So we had a lot of support in between as well.
That's amazing. And so, do you have any numbers, perhaps, of how is the ratio today comparing to before? You mentioned that especially for girls, right, to
Yeah,
go to the university in STEM
yeah,
majors.
yeah.
Do you
So
do you
we
have
we
any
we do
numbers of,
not
yeah?
we do not have a spike yet in statistics
Yeah,
because it's a process that really takes some time, because it's a process
right.
where you inspire young girls. They're still in primary school, and then they go to secondary school until they decide that they want to opt for sciences where they enroll to universities. So probably it is gonna be something that will be visible in a few years to come. But what we are
Mm-hmm.
sure now is that there is a platform that advocates for opportunities that are available, that also
Right.
speaks for challenges that women meet. But also we've managed to bring together the women who really have made it, who are like heroes, who are, like people like, I want to be like her. So people can see them and then they can talk to them. So this really adds up to the whole effort to, promoting, the culture, and, promoting women to participate in STEM and in the future. Hmm.
For sure. So they see that, oh, this is an actual girl, an actual lady who
Yes.
lives in the same community. She's coming from the similar background, and yet
Yes.
she has made it through her efforts. It's very important to
Yes.
do.
And you know
I
what's cool about
absolutely
it?
agree. Yeah.
What's cool about it is Tanzania now has, the president that came is the first female president in Tanzania. So she's also the female president. So all this really was
She
like,
herself is already right the
yes,
first person to look
yes,
at for a lot of the
yes.
girls.
It's been
Yeah,
great.
I
It's
think
been
it
great.
it brings to the point where sometimes we tend to think that the impact we're making maybe is not big enough, or there could be something more that we could do, but oftentimes it's just by actually acting and trying your best, you inspire yourself and you inspire others by just
Yep.
getting better and being you. And it doesn't mean that people have to be in the youth related work or industry, right? They could be just get the best at the industry where you are at, share it on social media to the extent that you're comfortable, and then people will get inspired and see that there's this whole huge community, right? um
Yes. Very
Absolutely.
correct.
Thank you so much. And then I have a question to you. During your work in those years, I know that to the world outside and to people who follow you and who are your friends, sometimes it looks very glamorous, or it looks that, oh, there are a lot of activities happening and it's also positive and optimistic and great. But then other times when sometimes you feel the I'm gonna share about my personal experience, because sometimes I also feel demotivated, right? Sometimes I am also tired because regardless of what we do, it becomes a routine. But it's just the difference is if we're doing something that we love, then it's easier, right, to get through it. But then if there are times when maybe you also feel that it's time to change directions or do something different, what would you do? What are your practices on motivating yourself? This is my question.
So honestly, yes, it happens many, many times that you feel like it's really a lot of work, and especially that coming out of university, we were not just looking to get an experience and networking. We also wanted to have a living. And so you would try certain initiatives, hoping they mature to become something that can also impact the community, but also support your own
Yeah.
life. But then sometimes it doesn't happen. Actually, most of the times doesn't happen to be so. And so I myself have changed courses from time to time, depending on like trying to explore new areas in new fields. And so for instance, right after architecture, and then we went to youth work specifically, and then right within youth work we went into marketing. We started a small marketing consulting company, and then things didn't do quite as much. We went into videography. We were photographers. We created content, and then we moved to trying to be consultants around project management. And so it's been like a constant cycle. But then what that reminds us is
Pivoting
that
all the time, huh?
right, but then that what that reminds that is that I think you, as long as you can still move, as long as you can still push another notch, just go for it. I mean, that's how you create more possibilities, because we have a say in Tanzania. that a person who just goes out for a walk is very different from someone who just stays in, because you go out for a walk, you never know what happens there.
It's also the motivation that I am sometimes oftentimes actually give myself. I say, if I try it, I might succeed. If I don't, it's already a failure by default, right? So better act
Yes,
and do something. So,
that's right.
and speaking of the young people that are in Tanzania or just around the world who have their ideas on starting something on their own, on they have ideas, they have that they want to do this, but then maybe there's fear of failure. Maybe there's some uncertainty about the success of the project. What would you recommend them to do?
So one thing that I've just come to learn, I think quite timely, is I mean, there's a tendency, and this is instinctively, there's a tendency that young people, because we're so energetic, we're so competitive, we tend to also
Mm,
compete with each other, which I
right.
find that that's really slowing our level of progress, our level of, like a trajectory to how we could be successful. I think the most important thing would be exploring how can we meaningfully, do things as partners, as friends, because that really adds up. Everyone brings in something. And so I would say the first thing would be, if someone is feeling overwhelmed about a field or trying to do something, I think it's important to just look out for that community. There's people who are super passionate about that. They're trying to do something. Once you get involved with these people, you will learn a thing or two. You would see like, okay, so this is how things are possible. That's number one. But then number two, I think as young people, it's important that to try to attract friends and partners, and understanding that even though everyone could be competitive in their own way, but we can do more things when we are together, because you can never
Exactly.
do anything by yourself, even though you want. There's a there's been a thing that it's quite a famous it's a joke in Africa, but it's not a joke. Like, you go to LinkedIn, and then every young person is a CEO, is a founder. Every young person on LinkedIn is a CFO. But the same young people, really, they are struggling to find jobs, to find opportunity. So this tells us, like, as individuals, we want to appeal, but then
Yeah.
that should not really come into practice, because we have to identify, like, oh, I do not know this. I think I need Vicky to help me out on this part. I think that is the most, important aspect that would really, really benefit young people as we go together.
Oh, I love that. The sense of community, the sense of belonging, sharing, asking for support, for help, and for partnership. I cannot agree with this more. I think all of
Uh-huh.
the communities and all of the volunteering and non-volunteer work, at the end of the day, we just all want to be a part of something, right? And
Right.
we want to know that we're not alone. And if you're building something with a friend, then it's a different story.
That's right.
And then it becomes your life. It becomes a part of your life. I love it. So
Yes.
the last question that I want to ask you, since it's a short format interview, if people who are young people or anybody who wants to join your project, how can they learn more about you? How can they support? How can they be somehow a part of what you are
Mhm.
doing already?
So, I, like most young people, I'm on social media. Even though
Yeah, we'll
sometimes I
share
tend,
all your links and contacts.
yes, yes. But then the first thing that I think is usually like ideal, I think, is before engaging, I think there's a sense. Number one is a genuinely wanting to be involved into something. So there's too many things, and the way we've explored this in our organization is that whenever we've had new colleagues who want either to volunteer or to partner or just join the team, the first thing is to ask them what they're very much passionate about, if they want to join our project, or if they have an idea that they want us to support their project or idea. Because we find this
Mm,
engaging, and then we help people really realize their own dreams, but also contributing as part of a greater team. So the first thing would be reaching out, but also, just to learn, or having an idea about wanting to do something or participating in something that is already happening. And there's so many ways to learn about what's happening. We share about the project and initiatives on our social media pages, on some of the organizations. I think that would be ideal, and we would be very much glad to get more people. And then now, especially, that even we which is something that I've really benefited from the festival, is exploring capabilities and new partnerships beyond my own community, beyond my country, beyond my continent. I think this really comes in with a lot of capability into what you could achieve, the skill, the knowledge, the cultural experience. It is enormous. So let's get connected, let's get to do
Yeah.
things, let's learn about each other, and let's bring ideas on the table.